Hello, good afternoon everyone and welcome to Love Talk. How many times did you say something to your significant other that he or she misunderstood? Perhaps you said something which was quite innocent, quite playful, and somehow it seemed like the other person got the wrong end of the stick and turned that against you.
Yes, or did not understand anything you said, and the whole thing turns into a big argument.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar, no?
Absolutely. And you know, the thing is, sometimes if you ask couples why they argue or why they had this massive argument, it's because of something really, really small. And we get people talking to us all the time saying, you know, James and Helen, you know, we had this massive argument and it all started because we were about to go out and I didn't compliment her on what she was wearing. Or sometimes
he said something and then she said, what do you mean?
Exactly.
And then that's it. I'm not going out anymore. You upset me.
Yeah. So today's program is about crossed wires, not mixed messages, but messages that come across in the wrong way. And we hope with what we're going to talk about here today and teach you, you will benefit from this. And by the way, we have an interview that we were trying to get for a long time with ultra-marathon running legend Scott Jurek. He'll be telling you how he manages his training regime with his relationship.
I really want to know.
Absolutely. But first, here's what the people in London had to say about this topic.
I'm Sammy and I'm walking the streets of London today because I want to speak to people about miscommunications of relationships. Maybe you've said something that you just wish you hadn't have said. Maybe it's damaged your relationship. Maybe you can never go back. I'm going to go and find out. Has your partner ever said something that's maybe offended you?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
No, but I'm actually in a situation right now where we have not communicated as well as we should have.
No, all the time, yeah, we are good.
Yeah, but I'm a talker. I'm like, what's wrong? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? No, you can't shout. You have to talk to each other, and you have to realize that each person has a different time frame for getting mad, and a cool down period is different for different people. So
Absolutely.
Like you and I might probably get mad at the same time, but then our cool down period would be like, I'll have a very short cool down period and you may have a longer cool down period.
Have you ever been in a situation where you've offended your partner by saying something that you just didn't mean?
Yeah. I hate you, or you really get on my nerves, but then you don't really mean it, or I can't stand you. It could be like a lack of communication. I think some people don't know how to communicate or get their feelings across to each other. So sometimes that's where it breaks down, or there's that point where people don't understand each other. So like, you can be two different people or you just don't understand each other, so that's where you kind of break down.
Yeah, definitely something like that happened, but don't really remember what and when and how.
Absolutely no.
I'm sure, yeah. I can't tell you what it is, I don't remember. Many times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You have, and have you?
Probably.
And have you been together long?
Yes.
How many years, can I ask?
Over 50 years. I think you have to be sensible about things, that there has to be a give and take on both sides.
Oh, all sorts of things like, are you going to eat that?
I try not to do that.
No, I can't say I have really. I haven't got any regrets. I don't live in the past, so I haven't, in that situation with a partner, I haven't got any regrets regarding sort of things I've said. I've always tried to sort of be honest in relationships in the past. I think it's the best approach because ultimately things get found out one way or the other. So
not really. Sometimes you do have.
Is he lying?
I think sometimes you do have you have an argument. So it suddenly happens like, okay, I want to be lead and she wants to be lead. She says I'm right and I say I'm right. And afterwards we just make it easy. Okay, it's fine. Then we just make it ourselves like cool. All right. Then.
Would you say you're quite a feisty lady?
Yes, I am, sure, definitely.
Really? So you don't let him get away with it? You put your foot down, right?
Not at all. You know, I'm very feisty. I'm always argumentative with him, you know. When it comes to an argument, I'll always be first to, you know, I don't know what to explain actually.
Because sometimes what I do is like, okay, I argue like longer time, then I'll just make myself calm down, okay, just leave it, and then she leaves it, and then we smile each other, and then it happens normally. So many times it happened, you know.
Yeah, sometimes maybe someone will get the wrong idea of the head of a certain situation. No, I've been honest. It's just sometimes you might come up with your own assumptions in your head. You think of a certain situation in a certain way until it gets cleared up, really.
Right, that's very interesting. But when we said the mixed messages and misunderstandings, we're not talking about saying I hate you and not meaning it. We're talking about more subtle things, like
innocent things.
That doctor said, "Are you going to finish that?
Are you really want to eat that, Elena?
Yeah.
Are you sure?"
And you know, the idea is not that you're calling a person fat when you say that. Sometimes the guy can have a genuine idea or reason for saying that. And the genuine reason is that perhaps he wants to eat what's there on your plate.
You see, oh, so innocent. No, but we have an agreement, okay? Every time, because we used to have this often, like misunderstandings. Why did you say that? What did you mean? So we have an agreement. So whenever this happens, we talk about it. He doesn't walk away. I don't walk away. We behave like adults and I say, okay, what did you understand about what I said?
That's right.
And so on.
And
it works.
The thing is, it's very, very easy for you to misunderstand what someone says. I mean, that can happen to anyone, not just in relationships. It can happen at work, that can happen with your family. And the idea is that if someone misunderstands and you see things are escalating, straight away, what you should do is to say, hold on a second, what I meant to say was this. Actually, there was a couple there who said, she said, I'm quite feisty, so when there's an argument, I put my point across, but that doesn't really help sometimes.
No, bad move. No, not good. You have to, you know, like I said, actually, how can I put it in an easier way? You have to basically be careful with what comes out of your mouth. There's no other way, actually. It's as simple as that. Even if you are feisty, if you are very dominating kind of personality, if you are like this, you have to be careful. If you're talking to your partner, first of all, you're not talking to just anyone, you're talking to your other half. And you can never take words back. So even if you apologize, you left a mark. So think before you speak. I think that's the best thing.
You need to bear in mind that sometimes words have two meanings, right? I mean, think about it. When you want to call someone for a fight, you say, is there a problem? Right? And you're calling someone for a fight. But you can also say to someone, look, is there a problem? Are you okay? These are two different ways of saying the same sentence. So you have to be careful because sometimes your partner misunderstands you and escalates things, but it wasn't purposeful.
And something else we do that works for us is we allow, for example, if I'm saying something, he waits for me to finish before he you know, gets any conclusion, takes any conclusion. And then I do the same. And if I'm not allowing him to speak, like it happens many times, then he will say, Elena, remember, let me finish. So then, okay, sorry. Do you understand? You have to train yourself, I think.
And this is quite tricky. You need to bear in mind that it's very, very easy for a couple to misunderstand what the other one says. Listen, this happens more than what you think. Perhaps if you stop for a second and you examine and you look back, try to trace your steps and see the arguments you've had recently with your partner, there's a chance that many of them will be because of little things like this. And the way to solve it is not jumping to conclusions.
Not writing any text messages when you're angry?
Absolutely.
Or emails?
Actually, you know, Lenny, that text messages is another thing that can be very easily misunderstood, because when you type something, the person can't hear the tone of your voice, and sometimes they get it wrong.
Yeah, very wrong. And this goes for anything. Boss, partner, family members, friends. So, yeah.
So, you know, let's cut our partners some slack. Let's understand that sometimes words can be misunderstood. And if you just, you know, hit the brakes a little bit, don't let things escalate, don't raise the tone of your voice. Because, you know, when you shout, people don't really listen to what you say. Sometimes you think that if you raise your voice, whoever shouts the loudest will be heard the most. And actually it's the opposite. The more you scream, the more you shout, the less people hear.
The less they hear and the less they will respect you. So, as I said in the beginning, and make sure you think about what you're going to say before you say anything.
Yeah.
And that goes for everything in life,
yeah.
I would say.
And trust me, this is something that we've experienced firsthand.
Oh yeah, it's normal. You just need to know how to deal with it.
Yeah, but we have had a lot of these arguments in the past where we misunderstood things that were so simple, so small. And it turned into a big thing.
And can I just say something quickly? It's usually the person who gets offended. It's usually to do with the same kind of thing. For example, if she's insecure about herself, if he says anything about someone else or compliments someone or something very innocent, you already Or if he says something about your outfit, you already, I didn't like this. It's because the person is insecure. So something that perhaps you can do to help your partner is to give him a hand, give her a hand, understand her background, his background, where he came from, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to deal with the person.
Now, maybe you say, James, what's the solution? How do I solve this problem? Very simple. Never ever jump to conclusions, because mixed messages is all about this. It's all about you hearing something, and before you even ask for an explanation or try to discuss that, you jump to conclusions. So never do that, right? Take your time, listen to the person. If you're not clear about what the person said, then you talk to them and you can solve things very easily, right? If you jump into conclusions, then you later found out that's not what the person meant, and you had this massive row which you could have avoided.
And don't let such a small thing ruin your day or maybe your week, because some people, unfortunately, they haven't yet matured in their relationship when it comes to asking for forgiveness or understanding the other person and understanding that silence will not resolve anything. So sometimes because of a small comment, that's it. I'm not talking to you for a week, for 3-4 days, and it's not good. It's not going to help.
Absolutely. Now, after the break, we're going to come back with some sketches we prepared of some misunderstandings and mixed messages that happen in many couples.
Some popular ones, right?
Popular ones. Some of these, not all of them, but perhaps 1 or 2 have already happened to us. So we hope you enjoy them. And we will also be meeting a couple that, in a way, the roles were reversed into how a man usually is. You're going to hear their very interesting story. We'll be right back. Now, as I promised, we have prepared some sketches, some comedy sketches of what usually happens in relationships when misunderstandings happen. I mean, it's the sort of typical example of what happens in a relationship. Have a look.
Hi, honey. How was your day?
It's fine. How was yours?
Oh, well, I was going for lunch with Lindsay. She turned up, for a start, late, and then she was looking like she put a bit away as well. And then when we get into the restaurant, right, we're sitting down, she goes, "Oh, I've forgotten my purse." I thought, oh, how convenient. Anyway, so it's fine because, I got that bonus and stuff, so I was like, I'll pay for it. Then we're chatting, and we had these lovely little salmon things for starters, and so they brought over that was free, apparently. Do you think these jeans are too tight?
They do look a little too tight.
What? Are you saying I've put on weight?
No, what I'm saying is putting on weight and wearing tight jeans are two completely different things.
Unbelievable.
What did I say?
And then the waiter, only it's like
I'm starving. Shall we get some food?
Yeah, all right. Well,
Chinese, Thai?
Pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Order it online. Is that new?
Yeah.
How much did it cost?
It's like $1,000.
But we're meant to be saving for the wedding.
No, but I don't have to tell you everything I do with our money, do I?
But we agreed that we would discuss all our purchases. We've talked about this so many times.
You sound like my mum.
Unbelievable.
Right now, which one has happened to us? I think the
jeans definitely.
But these are two different questions. Did I put on weight, or do you think the jeans are too tight? Are two different questions.
No. In our case, I would say to James, listen, I'm going to start a very serious diet from now on. Exercise, I'm going to be a good girl. And then, please help me, okay? Promise you help me? And then, okay, so a few days go by and then he sees me eating something, or I ask him, so do you like this outfit? Well, it doesn't really flatter you. He's already careful with the word. And then I'm like, did you just call me fat?
And of course, the other one is a classic as well. When the woman is telling you about her day and how things went, and the guy just zones out, like he goes into his own little world.
Ladies, learn one thing. Attention span is not very long.
Unless you're talking about football or something else.
Exactly. So make it quick, otherwise...
And of course, the money one is a classic as well. And because you're supposed to be managing things together, but you think, no, I can get away with this one by myself. So the guy goes there, buys, like a tech toy and a new gadget, and forgets to tell the lady what he's doing.
Well, I have to agree with the lady this time, okay? If you are getting married, you are, putting money together, you're saving, you have to let her know.
Yeah, and of course, just an advice. If you ask, there's two sides. If you ask the guy, do you think these jeans are tight? Expect him to say yes or no. But then, of course, the guy has to be, even with his answer, he has to be quite diplomatic.
But you know something?
You agree? Quite diplomatic.
Yes. Okay, if I say this, is it safe? Or perhaps I should use a different word. But it's funny because sometimes I notice that you make an effort to, okay, you think before you speak, and I don't like that. It means, okay, I know what it means, but it is being extra careful. So it's also an argument.
But then again, if you say it straight away, just whatever you're thinking is also a problem.
So how could we solve this problem?
The idea is for you to
not ask certain things.
Not only that. No, you have to ask, but I think you need to. You need to say whatever you're going to say in a constructive way. I think that would be the way to solve the problem. And it doesn't have to turn into an argument. I mean, with us, it doesn't turn into an argument. It's just, the person may make a joke. Are you calling me fat, or are you saying that I can't manage my own money?
Yeah. Are you calling me fat? And then he comes and says, no, you're just a little, fofinha. Shall we cut this?
So, be diplomatic and constructive.
Yes, definitely.
Right? Sometimes brutal honesty doesn't really help. Right?
Bad move.
Now we have a couple who are here with us today, and he is quite different from most men in the way that he relates, shows his feelings. You're gonna see why in just a few moments. We have Robert and Paula here with us. How are you guys?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Fine. You're nervous,
Thanks
Robert?
for coming.
A little bit.
A little bit. Relax. You're at home. You're in a sofa. You're okay. So, how long have you guys been married for?
Been married now for
9 years.
9 years.
9 years.
Yes. 9
So,
years.
when you first got married, I mean, what kind of problems did you guys have?
Well, when we got married, we are quite different from each other, and I think one of the biggest one that we faced was the differences of how we show affection.
Okay.
And afterwards, after quite a few problems, that we understood why we had those problems. And I can say my family was a bit cold in the way that they used to show affection. And of course, either I like it or not, I got that from myself. And I brought that into my marriage. So I thought that everything was fine. I thought I was a good housewife, providing for him everything that he needed. The food was always there, the clothes, the house cleaned. And once, out of the blue, at least for me, it was out of the blue, he just turned to me and said, I don't think you like me.
He said, I don't think you like me, or I don't think you love me.
Yeah,
but why?
You love me.
Yeah, it was a while ago. But for me, it was quite a shock. And I said, but why? Why do you think that? And he was, but you don't say that you love me.
Yeah, you never say you love me. It's always me that I say.
But how were you brought up? Let us hear that, because maybe we'll understand why.
That's it. I would say my family, we all always together, my sister and I. So we always, whenever time we all without seeing one another, whenever time we'd meet, you say, oh, I miss you, I love you, and so on. We'd exchange that affection at all the time.
So that's
the reason why we were saying earlier that you are different, Robert, is because usually the man is the one who is colder. And the woman is the one who's always saying, I love you, do you love me, do you love me? And
I don't do that. Well,
no, you don't. I'm saying usually the woman is more affectionate.
I understand.
In this case, it was you got to the point of saying, I don't think you love me, because you don't say that to me.
Yes, it was me, because I would say whenever time our wedding anniversary, and all the time, I would always come with that. Quite so often, I would text, I would say, but I would expect, for example, if I send a text, I love you, and I say, me too.
So you would expect her to say, I love you too, you are my prince. Right.
Very different backgrounds, indeed.
And Paulo, when we were speaking earlier, you were saying that you thought that just by being a good wife, a good housewife, you were already showing him that you loved him. You didn't need to say that all the time.
Yeah, because my parents never told me all the time, I loved you. I love you, Paula. They never, but they always provide for me everything that I needed. I had good schools, everything that I needed as a teenager, as a young adult, I had. And I thought, okay, they show they love me. And even if I would see friends of mine, and even if I would say friends of mine that the family were always hugging and kissing, I would say, that's a bit too much. And when we were dating, of course, I understood. I thought, no, it's because we are dating. So that's why he's so caring and so loving. If it's going to change after marriage, he's going to be a bit less.
But he was even more.
Yes.
But actually, most women would think that they won the lottery with Robert because he's so affectionate. Most women complain that the guy is not affectionate enough. You were very affectionate. Now, how did you deal with that? How did you solve that problem?
Yeah, we did not solve it like straight away because I took some time to say that.
How long did you take?
I would say in the first year of the marriage, I was expecting to receive and see that, obviously, and then I started watching, and the time went by until one day. So you never say. It's always me that says and so on, and then I had to come. And
in the beginning, I didn't really accept. I said, nah, you were just making a big deal. I give it to you everything that you need. How can you just think I don't love you? So in the beginning, I didn't accept it straight away. But of course, that's the problem. Keep coming back.
But it's something interesting. Something that we tell our viewers to do is to communicate. And okay, you took a year to open up to her, but you did. And this is important because many don't open up, be it the woman or the man, and they just nurture this thing inside of them and they start behaving in a funny way. And then they grow cold, and that's it. They go separate ways.
But also, Paulo, when he spoke to you about the problem, you said he's making a big deal out of nothing.
That's what I thought.
You didn't deal with it immediately.
No.
And did the problem get worse?
It got worse. I believe he became a bit frustrated.
And you resisted?
It's because I couldn't see that was the problem. I couldn't see, for me, because I was raised, over 20 years of my life in that way. So now, in 1 year that I am with him, it's like he's saying that the way that I was brought up was wrong.
So we're gonna find out after the break how you guys solve this problem and how your relationship is. But I just want to tell you something before we go to the break, that something we've been saying to couples we've been counseling lately, and this is very important, is that when someone tells you something, when someone says, listen, I have this problem, I don't like this in our relationship, you can't ignore that. Don't say the problem it's with you. It's you that think I don't love you.
Or it's
enough,
in your mind.
Or it's all in your mind. You can't say that. If the person is bold enough, courageous enough to tell you that there's something wrong, because it takes courage to do that. If you're intelligent, and I believe if you're watching me now, everyone has intelligence, then you need to deal with that. Don't put it to one side, okay? We're gonna go to a break. When we come back, we're gonna hear how Robert and Paula solved that problem, and how their relationship developed. We'll be right back. So before the break, what we've learned about Robert is that he would say I love you all the time and send text messages saying I love you all the time.
Because the way he was brought up.
Because of the way he was brought up, but that's what most women crave, right? What we learned about Paula is that she was quite cold, and although she loved him very much, she didn't think she had to talk about it that much. Right, guys?
Yes.
So as long as you didn't deal with this, Paula, you said, you know, he's just making a big deal out of nothing. Things got worse, like you were saying.
Yeah.
When did you actually deal with the problem?
First, I had to recognize it was a problem. At least for him, it was a problem. So I could not ignore that anymore. And I saw that I had, of course, we talked a lot about it. And I saw that I had to start making some sacrifices because I could not be the only one being like happy in the relationship. He had to be happy as well. So I had to do things to please him, for him at least to be sure that I loved him as well. Then I had to show more.
What did you do? What kind of things did you have to do now to show him affection?
Of course, if you would send a text message, you'll not be so straightforward and say,
me
okay,
too.
me too. No, I would say, I love you too, baby, or something like this. Sometimes I would put post-its somewhere, for him to find it.
And then he would become like a child.
Yes. Yes. Because he's already very caring. That's how he always has been.
Because Robert, you're a big guy, you're a tall guy, but you're a tall, soft guy, in a way, right?
I would say yes. For those who know me, my work, even in sport, like I like football, I can be very rough.
I know you are very rough when you play football. I have a few bruises.
Was he the one who broke your toe?
No, that was someone else. That was someone else.
I'm yet to find out who it was.
Yeah. I can play rough, I can be really tough in the sports that I like, but I would say when I come home, I would say, because it's my wife, it's like my
little piece of heaven, isn't it?
That's it. So I believe that, and also I have this side of me that I would cry if I would get too nervous. I would cry and so on. So, and then I would say when it comes to the love life, when it comes to my marriage, and obviously I don't want to compare with my mother, but I would have that for my mother. I remember once I took my wife to my family, and we were having like a gathering. It was like over 20 people inside of the house and everybody together, eating together.
Hugging and everything.
That's it, everyone like...
My nightmare.
Nightmare for you, right?
Yeah, and then the time to sleep, everybody would lie down, everybody would be together.
But you know something interesting? I'm listening to what Robert is saying. Look at how interesting. Usually men are brought up to believe that a man doesn't cry. A man doesn't feel pain, a man this, a man that. But it's all a lie. Men feel the same things we do. And what is the problem with growing up with this idea of a man doesn't cry, a man doesn't whatever, is that they tend to hide their emotions, and that brings other serious problems. Many problems. For example, there's something bothering you and you don't talk about it because you are afraid of to be seen as a weak man, and there's no such thing as that. I mean, if you don't recognize, if you do not talk about it, you are actually very weak.
Absolutely. So when once you dealt with this and you made an effort, did that make your relationship better? Did that change things?
Oh yes.
For you, definitely. Right?
Oh, of course. It really changed, helped a lot. I believe that obviously there was a problem, was an issue, but I was okay. But when we were able to talk, I believe... It
made things much better because if I love him, so why not do something that makes him happy? So it made everything much better. Our relationship was much easier.
I knew she loved, for example, one of the things that really I love in her is the way that she cares for me. It's so nice. For example, it's something simple, but I always say, my wife is the type of person that she cares so much that if she eats something, she will come and before she opens like a bottle of juice or anything, she would offer me first. She would allow me to eat first, and then she would take. But in my case, it's like this. If I come to eat, I'm starting it, and then all of a sudden I see she's looking at me. Oh, I did not even offer.
Because this is how she was brought up, can you see?
Yeah.
To care, you know, showing affection by caring for the person, not actually saying things, but doing things.
And, you know, it's a good thing that you guys decided to talk about that and you overcame that. If it was another couple who wouldn't talk, the guy would probably have gone and done something stupid because he would think that the wife didn't love him, and it was not the case. Now, how over the years, as years went by, you guys have been married for 9 years, what have you learned that is, you know, if you were to give people one secret about having a solid marriage, a solid relationship, what would be the secret for you, Robert, first of all?
For me, the secret is this. I even made this agreement with her that before even going to bed, whenever issue we have, we needed to talk. We cannot go to sleep, even if it will take the whole night there, but we needed to talk. If she would say, no, but okay, there is nothing else to say, but I want to make sure that is done, is resolved, we are fine, and then we can...
I heard someone say that once. Oh, before we go, we don't sleep unless we solve the problem. And there was a guy who said, look, there was a time I didn't sleep for 5 days. Which means he was talking about it for 5 nights.
Talking,
right?
or maybe trying to talk, but because of his pride, nothing would come out. So it took him 5 nights, maybe.
Yeah. Paul, what about you? What would be the one most important secret to make a relationship work?
For me, is to sacrifice to make the other person happy. I never saw this in my house with my parents' marriage. They never sacrificed for each other. I would see them fighting for their own things. And they were living under the same roof, but living separate lives. And that's why I brought this with me. And after I saw how a small thing was bringing such a big problem, I said, no, marriage is about making the other person happy. I know it seems very simple, and we hear this all the time,
this is key.
But it is very hard to do it every single day, to sacrifice yourself to make the other person happy.
Yeah. Because usually people say, look, how can you make me happy? And actually marriage is completely the opposite. It's how can you make the other person happy?
Yes. Absolutely.
So did you see your parents being cold to each other?
Yes, I believe only once. My parents were married for 28 years. I believe only once I saw them kissing.
Really?
Yes.
So maybe that's why you were like that.
Yeah, definitely. I saw my father providing everything for the family. We lived in a good house, having everything, but I never saw him showing affection. On the opposite, I saw him betraying her and doing a lot of horrible things to her.
Right.
Wow.
And you, Robert, maybe you saw your parents the opposite, or your family the opposite, always hugging,
Love is in the air every day.
The father figure was not there.
Right.
Because I lost him in a young age. But it was, I believe, even losing my father, my mother gave all herself, so she became the father and the mother for me.
Okay,
and my
that's why you
sister.
got all this attention and all this love.
That's it.
Okay.
So your family, in a way, became even more united than
yes, very, very close. Okay. My sister, even my cousins, that is not my sisters, my wife, when see them, they are like my sisters. All my cousins, the female and the male, we are very close as brothers and sisters in the house.
Right.
Very
now,
nice.
Just before we go to the break, we have a couple of minutes. Paula, am I right in thinking that before you met Robert, you had complexes about your height?
Yeah.
Because you're quite...
And you are not as high, as tall, sorry, as him, imagine.
Because you're quite tall, right?
I'm 5'9".
5'9". And what did you used to think? Oh, you know...
I'll never find no one. Everyone that I look at was shorter than me. And even my family would say, I don't think we're going to find someone as tall as you.
Your family used to say that too?
Yeah.
That's
They
encouraging.
even said, look, I think you should be happy if you find someone. Even if it's going to be shorter than you or whatever. But
be
if
grateful.
you find, yes. And I said, no.
That's sad.
And then you met Robert. How tall are you, Robert?
I believe it's 6'7". No, 7.
6'2", 6'7". I don't even know how that works.
No,
6'7".
Yeah.
Okay, you are very tall. I mean, he's so tall.
I would say in Portuguese they say
2 meters.
Yeah.
2 meters.
What? 2 meters? Oh my God.
Just 2 meters or above 2 meters?
No, 2.
Just two.
He's so tall that when he came in, our producer got a little bit scared, right? But you know, it's. I wanted to say that because I wanted people to understand that no matter who you are, what you look like, your background,
there is always
someone for you. Mm-hmm. Always, and it's not a matter of soulmate. It's a matter of compatibility.
Yeah, just be patient. Mm-hmm. You will find your other half. Definitely.
Absolutely. So, guys, it's great having you here on the show.
Thank you for
coming.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's a pleasure. After the break, you're going to hear an amazing interview with Scott Jurek, as promised. But for now, here's what's happening in the celebrity world.
In this week's Celebrity Goss, Elsa Pataki has revealed that she and her husband, Chris Hemsworth, do not have any plans to have more children. Elsa recently gave birth to twin boys named Sasha and Tristan, and they already have a young daughter named India Rose. Elsa revealed that she finds it difficult to be a working mum with twins, writing in her blog, "With twins you have more work and now I have to do it better." And she also admitted that it is quite an experience to balance her work and home life. After recently admitting that working with boyfriend Calvin Harris made her nervous, Rita Ora has now also confirmed that she had never been in love before Calvin. Discussing falling in love with Calvin, the R.O.P. singer said, "There's so many things. The fact that he got something out of me that I never thought I had. Yes, like falling in love, I just didn't think I had it. I'd never experienced it before. And I was just like in the wilderness thinking, will it ever happen?" Rita previously dated Rob Kardashian and earlier last year was rumoured to be dating David Beckham's close friend Dave Gardner. Jodie Kidd is set to marry her dashing ex-army boyfriend David Blakely after a whirlwind romance. The couple, who first met early last summer, secretly became engaged 4 months ago on a romantic trip to India. David proposed to Jodie on the shores of Lake Pichola in magical Udaipur, Rajasthan, and was overjoyed when the model and TV presenter instantly said yes. They immediately told both their families, including Jodie's parents and sister Gemma and brother Jack, who were all blown away with happiness for them. And that's all for this week's Celebrity Goss.
Now, for the longest time, we've been trying to get an interview with the following, with the person you're just going to see there on your screen in a few moments. Mm-hmm. And as a runner myself, it was a privilege to speak to Scott Jurek, and I'm sure that hardcore fans of running know exactly who he is and what he represents to the running community. And we interviewed him on his career, his life, and his relationship, and how he managed to juggle all of them together.
And if Scott is watching, he's been dreaming about this interview for ages. So he was very, very happy to have this interview done, wasn't it?
So we hope that you enjoy it. Hi everyone, I'm here with Scott Jurek for a special interview for Love Talk. Actually, we're recording this interview for the second time because the first time we didn't get any sound. So Scott, thank you for being so patient with us.
It's a pleasure to be here, and no worries.
All right. So, I mean, Scott, I've been following you for a while. I first got to know about you when I read Born to Run, and then I read your book, Eat and Run. And it's an absolute pleasure and privilege for me to be speaking to you. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, it's an honor to be here.
Great. So let's go for the first question. First thing is, I think, why do you run and why do you keep on running? What's the motivation behind the running all these years?
I mean, for me, it's really become part of my lifestyle. I mean, I obviously have run, to win races. It's become like a career for me. I ran obviously to stay in shape, and there's the health benefits, and there's so many components. But at the end of the day, it really is about a lifestyle. It's like sleeping, and at night. It's just a part of my routine, and it kind of makes me feel like a better person, not only mentally and physically, but just deep down. I think there's this desire in humans to move our bodies, and running is that vehicle for me. And running's been a vehicle of exploring who I am on a deeper level, and I've just learned so much from the sport, and it's embedded in me, and now it's an important part of my life.
That's great. Now, for people who are novices at running and they want to increase their mileage, they only do a couple of miles at a time when they run, what's the best way to do it?
I think the most important thing is to keep it fun and find ways to keep one motivated. I always recommend, try finding a group that you can run with, whether it's a running club or a local running shop, once or twice a week. Connect with them, run with them, because you can run with people who are faster than you, people who are slower than you. Just getting out of your normal routine. Sometimes people kind of just lock into their normal mileage, their normal pace, and it becomes monotonous and sometimes boring. So I think kind of bringing some new elements to the routine is really key. And whether that's a training buddy you meet once a week, or it's your dog that you run with. I mean, find ways to keep you motivated, because even folks like me, have been running for ultramarathons for 20 years. There are days where it's hard to get out and train when it's raining and it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So it's key to have little things that kind of keep you motivated, and having goals too that you're training for. Whether it's your first 5K or whether it's your first marathon or half marathon or ultramarathon.
Absolutely. So, reading your book, Eat and Run, I could see that you went through a lot of challenges in life, personal challenges, difficult situations. How does running help you cope and overcome situations like that in life?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing ultramarathoning has taught me is to be adaptable, to be able to think on my feet, so to speak, to not always look at adversity and challenge as something that's just totally impossible to overcome. It's really putting a different twist on, I guess, a situation that just seems, like I'm never going to get through this, or, how can I ever make it through this difficult situation? And ultramarathoning really, forces me to if I want to get to that finish line, or if I want to win a race, or if I want to catch that person ahead of me, I have to find that inner strength and be able to dig deep. And I think that's what's been indispensable in life too, because life comes with a lot of adversity and challenges. I mean, it's never easy from start to finish, and neither is an ultramarathon. So, and it goes both ways. I've learned a ton from life that has helped prepare me to be a better ultramarathon. My mother had multiple sclerosis for over 30 years, and as a young child, had a mother who couldn't do the simple tasks of moving her body like a lot of mothers do. So it's dealing with an adversity like that has prepared me for doing these crazy races, like running through Death Valley at 135 miles, or running across Greece from Athens to Sparta 153 miles. It's really prepared me for what I've done in my sport.
That's great. Now, there's a lot of people who say, look, I'm too busy with family and work and I can't fit running into my schedule. I have kids to look after. What's the secret? How do you do it? What's the best way to fit running into their work schedule, their life?
Yeah, I think, the first thing is, dedicating time. I mean, I'm like anybody else. I mean, I'm trying to do a million things all the time. Running isn't I just don't get to be an athlete full time. I've always had to manage a job. So I'm not coming from this as an elite athlete who just trains 4 or 5 hours a day. I've had to manage. And the biggest thing I think is being on the same page and communicating with your partner and your family and your friends, and say, hey, this is an important thing for me. And, always try to keep the balance. I have individuals and friends that I know who've been training for ultramarathons, and they literally run 30 miles a week. They get out for long runs maybe every other weekend. They're not winning races, but for them, their goal is just to be out there, just basically competing and doing the challenge the goal that they have. So you have to be putting it in perspective. You can't be training 40 hours a week if your goal is just to finish a race. That's not fair to your family, and you're probably not going to be able to do that. But if you can find that balance and make sure that you're keeping a balance with your friends, your family, and still doing the thing that you love. And it constantly has to change. There are days when I might have planned to do a really big long run, but if something comes up, family, work, you have to adjust that. And that's what it really is all about, being adaptable and adjusting to things and keeping an open line of communications between your family and friends.
Right. Now, how does your wife Jenny support you in case you're a little bit too stressed or things aren't going that well for you? How does she support you to keep going?
I think the biggest thing she's done for me is she's kept life fun, and she knows how to put a positive twist on things. She makes me laugh. She also understands, what I'm doing, and I think that's key. Like, you don't have to have a partner or a significant other or family member that does the sport that you do, but they just have to understand and get what you might be going through. And I think that comes with time, and it comes with experience. But Jenny knows how to read me, and I think it's being in sync together that's really key. And I think that's key to obviously winning a race and her supporting and crewing for me. But it's also key in life, and being a strong relationship involves that being in sync and in synergy with each other. And it doesn't always go perfect. I mean, I'll be honest, it takes a lot of work on both ends, and I'm still learning. I'm definitely not an expert.
Sure, but absolutely, what you said now is very important, because reading each other, because my wife doesn't run at all, but if I'm stressed, she tells me, listen, you need to go for a run because you're stressed out, you're making my life a little bit more difficult, so go and run, and then we'll talk when you come back. It always helps, right? So if she doesn't run, but she understands how it helps you, it helps both of you.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's key too, because I have friends, and I talk to people all the time, and they're like, oh, my significant other, my spouse doesn't really understand why I run. They don't get it. And I think, like you said, it's really about understanding this is an important thing. This makes me a better person. And if they start to understand that more, I think they'll be a little bit more forgiving when it's like, okay, why are you taking off for an hour or 2 hours? And again, you got to keep it in balance, though.
Yeah.
And there are times where, again, I cut runs short or change my training plans based on what family or work needs bring up. So life is about it being adaptable, and open lines of communication and being in sync with each other is key.
That's great. Okay, Scott, thank you so much for being patient for the second recording now.
Yeah, no worries. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad it all worked out.
Absolutely. It's like ultramarathoning, right? You need to keep going, and we made it the second time.
Exactly.
Second time
and being adaptable.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And for those watching at home and who have relationship, work, like everybody else, if you can fit running into your lifestyle, then anybody else can. I think anybody can do it, right?
Definitely. And like I said, I don't get to be a professional athlete 8 hours a day. It's really about doing all the other components. And I've always had a job. I've always been, focused on other things. So it's really, you become a better person if you have those other elements. And I think my running has been better too, because if I had the opportunity to run, 6 hours a day, and that's where overtraining can sometimes result. So it's really about keeping that balance and being encouraged to do things that balance life, balance your training.
Okay, so that's great. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're going back to the studio. So the idea there was to show you that whatever your passion is, there is a way to make it work with your relationship.
And how important it is to have someone to, encourage you, to say, you know what, let's go, you are really good, push you and motivate you. This is so good, isn't it?
And something interesting that Scott said is that running for him is extremely important, it's part of his life. But if he has to choose between that and solving a family issue or spending time with his partner because she needs that time, then of course that will always take priority.
But can you see how important? I'm sure she's been, like I said, motivating him, pushing him, making him who he is today in a way. I'm sure that she also understands that running is so important to him that she will not bother him with small things, if you know what I mean. So that's
and if your passion helps with your personal development, personal fulfillment, then that will help your relationship. Bear that in mind. It's important that you don't stifle that person's passion or that person's, what they like to do, because that only makes the relationship healthy. So perhaps the idea to take from from his story, from his interview, is that it's important that you both work together at whatever you're doing. You understand each other's needs, the need for that passion, and that will make that person happier. Okay? So we hope that this program has been helpful. Until next time, have a wonderful afternoon.